remember the first year I put something in, I never put my work out here. I was new here from the UK, and so I'd never put the work out at all. It was just here in my studio and I was just making. So for me at that point, the first time, it was about the work actually being seen and having some kind of presence and, you know, just seeing what happened. As an artist, I'm primarily, I did do some fine art training, and I primarily trained in textiles initially. So I was doing prints for the American market before I then went on to sculpture. And when I did my training as the art therapist, I took a year out and I had a full-on year of sculpture, and it was absolutely great. For me, as an artist, the therapy or the interactions I have with individuals or the stories always informs my work in some degree. It always comes in. And the other thing with therapy, there was a lot that I learned from Winnicott and ideas about play. And I think that is also integral in my work in terms of play. So you play with materials, you play with possibilities, you play with those opportunities that you get, that you see. Some might be by accident, some might be planned, but you play with those and you actually then look at the process and put it into place in your own work. So therapy is always about the process, not about the end product. And I guess I still hold on to that sometimes. So at the moment, when I moved over here from the UK, I couldn't get half of the materials I used in the UK. So I moved over to another product. So I predominantly use what we call a jesmonite, which is an acrylic resin base. So it's a 2-part binder. And I always find it really interesting because I used to work in clay and ceramics. And obviously there's always a 2-part process in terms of the clay and then the firing and then the transition. So there's always transformation and transition. And it's the same with jesmonite and the binder. There's a transition between something liquid to something solid. And in that transitioning process, that's what intrigues me as well, that sense of, well, what can I do with that? How can I push the boundaries with materials that I do use? How can I play with what I have got and also what I can add? I like to pick up a thread or a narrative, a story, and kind of run with that across my pieces a little bit. I think there's so much to be said in art, and I feel like I've got so much I want to say. I don't feel like I'm ever without ideas, and they just generate off the back of each other. So there's a couple of pieces. One was very much, I suppose, more about a feminine aspect of a woman, and that was called She, and it's partly wood and partly jesmonite and partly fibre. And the whole piece and the poem was written by myself and Yulia Kay. This very much for each individual that looks at the piece. The other piece that's going in is a really tall piece called Hope is a Thing with Feathers. And what stuck with me with that was originally a poem I read by Emily Dickinson, which is about hope is a thing with feathers. But it was just that one line that stuck with me, not the entirety of the poem. It's all figurative. And it is quite towering, and there is a bird in it. The heads are slightly bigger than the bodies, but that's very much about how we reside within the head, as opposed to the feelings and the connection that we see beyond us in our external environment. And the box shapes and forms are very much about the structures that we fit into or we occupy, and the confines and the boundaries of those as well, and how we maybe strive for something else. I think it's a beautiful, Flaxton Gardens is such a beautiful place to be. And the space is amazing, where you've got the indoor, the internal and the external, you know, and often when it's on, I go up, I mean, it's local for me, but we go up a couple of times and we eat and then we walk around and we just take that time just to be. And I think that's the important thing, just to be and just enjoy what is around you and enjoy what you see. You saunter around and you hear people discussing work and talking, and you kind of listen in a little bit and think, oh, okay. You know, to come and just enjoy the day at the hinterland, you've not only got Flaxton Gardens and Sculptor, but you've also got Mullaney and Montville and other surrounding areas. And it's such a beautiful place. And it's got such a nice vibe. I'm Jean Bennett, and this is my sculpture story.